Hello there, and in this video we're back on the XC90 and we're going to try and find out why on earth that brake caliper is creaking, as you saw in the last video. Shouldn't be making that noise. Yeah, definitely not ideal. Now, at some point I'm going to replace all the brakes in this, probably at the same time as I do the wheel bearing, which I suspect needs to be replaced on the near side. But for now, because I'm hearing this noise, I just want to check it over from a safety point of view and just make sure there's nothing either loose or obviously adrift. And what I'll do as part of that is just clean everything up and just make sure everything looks like it's okay. So let's get it up in the air, get the wheel off and have a look at what is lurking underneath there. Ooh. Pinched me. It's a good job I was wearing gloves then, because that would have really pinched my finger. I made that mistake not that long ago actually. I gave myself a cracking blister doing the engine mount job, because I caught, of all things, I was trying to be safe and I caught my finger in one of the axle stands as I was setting it up. Let's lift that off. Just for safety's sake, I'm going to roll that underneath the car, just as a sort of belt and braces. Everything all goes wrong, it's going to catch on something as well. Alright, so I think the first thing I need to do is get this little anti-rattle spring out of there. This might be a job that involves 2 screwdrivers, I think. Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, I'm going to need 2 screwdrivers on this job. There we go, I have returned with 2 screwdrivers and a cup of hot brown. The cup of hot brown probably being more important than anything else. Oh, my new engine mount's holding up okay anyway, which is nice. Now this feels like it's fun to get out. It's much more of a faff than the other spring clips I've dealt with before, I've got to say. Well, that side's sort of out. Looks like pinging that side out. There's really stuck pressure on the other side now though. Oh, hang on. There we go, it's out, it's free. Well, that was a faff. Oh right, I see, so it clips into the inside of that pad. That's what it's sitting inside, right. Well, that makes a bit more sense now I've seen it. I think I see roughly how that's meant to go back in as well. That's going to be fun to put back in. Right, okay, so now I've done that, we'll get the 2 7mm hex behind undone. Right, okay, so we've got 2 little dust caps. One up top here, and one hiding somewhere I can't see. There it is, down the bottom. And one thing you have got to be careful when you take these to bits and put them back together, the pins are 2 different lengths. I believe the bottom one is the shorter one, and the upper one is the longer one. But we'll keep an eye on that as we're taking things to bits. That doesn't feel good. That feels like we have the potential for problemo to me. No, I'll tell you what that is. That is me tightening it. I've just done that the wrong way, I think. Yeah, I have. I might have just put myself in a world of pain there. Yeah, I was tightening it. That's tighten, that's loosen. Sugar, I was going the wrong way. Just goes to show, folks, when something feels wrong, stop. Right. Yeah. Yes, I was tightening that. Let's hope I have not stripped the threads on that, eh? Because if I have, that'll be my own bloody fault. See if we can get this one undone with the shorter ratchet. Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, that one was quite tight as well. That one seems a bit more free. I do think this upper pin, yeah, is a bit stiff. Rev that transit out. an ambulance, to be fair, actually, having just looked at it. Right, now let's just... I'm just going to try and compress this slightly as well. Just so I can get it out. All being well, that should be enough to get it off. It is not enough to get it off. Yeah, it's very dry. Very, very dry, that pin is. There's nothing on that at all. It feels like we're still getting bound up. We might need to just try and compress that caliper a tiny bit more. Okay, that's it. That's the caliper free. And oh god, yeah, that all needs cleaning up and tidying. Oh, that pin is seized almost completely solid inside that caliper. Just to try and work this pin loose, because it's in very, very tight, that is. Very, very, very tight indeed. So I think this top pin was probably what I could hear creaking. I'm not convinced this was floating properly at all, based on how this feels. Alright, just going to see if I can get some leverage and push on the end of it without screwing anything up thread-wise. Oh god. Yeah. There we go, it's starting to come free now. Right, so just for reference, that's the length of the lower one. Yeah, it is quite a bit longer. But yeah, that is very, very dry, very, very sticky, and I'm not surprised. I was struggling, to be honest with you. Right, I need to find a way to secure this caliper for a moment, and then we'll start getting everything cleaned and tidied up. Right, let's see if I can get this secured up against the suspension spring, just so that it doesn't drop off on me suddenly or unexpectedly. So I really don't like the look of that flexi. Sorry you can't see because my knee. I don't like the look of the rubber around that flexi. I can see that being on my list of things to change in the longer term with this car. If I keep it, I think is the question. I'm starting to fancy a non-Volvo project at the moment, so it could well be. I mean, obviously I've got the BX, which is a non-Volvo project, but yeah, having driven Lewis and Leanne's E46 Club Sport recently, there's maybe a little bit of a mistake, because now I quite want one. Anyway, distractamundo. So what I need to do, we need to get the two little passageways cleared out there. I'm going to clean these little runner areas up as well and try and get everything spick and span so that it's good. Putting everything back in. Obviously in an ideal world you'd do this with everything off fully, take the caliper bracket off and stuff, but as I know I'm going to be stripping this more completely at a later date to do the front discs and pads anyway. I think for now I'm just going to go with smartening it up a bit, getting that all over where I keep my tools, which is annoying, and then at least I've made some effort to make sure that everything can slide and move. To be fair, it's not taking much to get down to reasonably clear looking metal there. Let's get the file out on it as well. I like to file these so that they're nice and flat. Certainly a fair chunk of corrosion on them, although that's also largely the theme of fairly substantial chunks of the rest of the car as well. At 20 years old, although Volvos are quite rust resistant, this one is definitely showing signs of its age, especially around the rear subframe, which is, I suspect, you know, it's either the gearbox or the rear subframe that would make this car fall very much into the category of no longer economically viable to repair. Yeah, like I say, they're not as clean as I would like to get them, to be honest with you, but without taking the carrier off, which I'm not doing tonight, I'm not going to get them much cleaner. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do, and it's going to be tricky for me to show you, is I'm going to take my caliper wind back tool and I'm just going to wind that caliper back all the way and just make sure it's all hunky-dory. So that's where I am now. I'm just going to start winding that caliper backwards and in. It looks like it's going very easily, so hopefully that means the caliper is good. We haven't got any worries in that regards. I don't think there's no real dirt inside them at all, actually. There's absolutely no grease either, which does seem odd. Alright, so let's have a quick look at the caliper surfaces. And again, I might just give all this a little bit of a rub down, although I don't really think the pads actually sit on anywhere other than literally inside. Just going to concentrate, I think, on where the pad sits on the inside, because I don't think this outer bit actually touches anything, to be honest with you. Yeah, so I'm just looking at that, and that's definitely the original dust boot. So there's just that little indentation in that corner there. That might just be how they are, but again, just something I need to consider, keep an eye on. Now, like I say, if these are the 20-year-old original calipers, might be, again, depending on what I do with it, worth considering getting a set of refurb ones for it maybe at some point, but not yet. Right then, next job is to look at the two pins, which I've lost. No, I haven't, they're there. Yeah, so I'll say this top one in particular was very, very sort of stiff and reluctant to come out. So I'm going to start by giving these both a really, really good clean up. So it doesn't look like brake clean alone is going to fully get rid of everything, but that's alright because I have a plan for that. I quite like to use a little bit of emery cloth to do mine, and again, very much same sort of effect. The goal you're looking for is just to get them nice and uniform and free of any crud. So they're looking a little bit nicer now. There's not too much pitting on them that I can see, maybe a tiny bit, but nothing outrageous, I would say. Okay, and that's the same. That's cleaned up nicely. So next step is to get these greased so that we can stick them back into the caliper. Now, I'm sure the jury will be out on whether or not this particular stuff is worth it over any of the other products out there you can get. I know most people would just use sort of like Ceratec or some form of sort of general ceramic grease. I bought this ages ago, to be honest with you, and I've done it with all the cars since. So it's got a specific grease for the clips, the pads and the pins. And again, like I say, it seems to have done me good. I've not had any problems with anything binding or anything since. So again, I don't know whether it is massively beneficial to have it that way, but it's just what I've used over the years. And I've been happy with I've had happy outcomes with it, or good outcomes with it rather. So we'll get them greased up and then slid back into the caliper. Remembering obviously that the shorter one goes at the bottom. He says, now hoping that he has remembered correctly. I think I have, looking at the geography of the caliper, to be fair. Right, so while I'm here, I'm also going to take a quick look at the pads, and again I'm just going to knock any corrosion off them sort of on the the main contact areas and set them up in such a way that hopefully they should be able to slide a bit more freely. Because like I say, I don't know really what was causing the creaking. It could have been the pads, it could have been the caliper itself, it could have been those pins. It may even still creak after I've put this, when I put this back together. There is quite a strong lip on this disc as well, which might be a factor. And again, these pads are not going to be on the car for that much longer, to be honest with you anyway, so I'm not too concerned. The main reason I wanted to strip it was to make sure that there wasn't a clear and obvious safety concern, and I can't see one, to be fair. So what I'm going to do, on the contact area where it meets the back of the caliper, I'm just going to stick a little bit of black pad grease just on the back surface where it interacts with the caliper, and then I will put some clip grease on those surfaces where it interacts with the carrier. A bit like that. Obviously taking care not to get anything sort of on the friction material, because that would probably generate an undesirable outcome. I'm sure there were people looking at this going, oh my god, you're doing a plastering job. Yeah, well, probably am, but me, it's fine. It's good. And again, just remember, these pads are not staying in too much longer. Right, I'm going to get my hands cleaned up and then we'll start getting everything back together. There we go, that's snapped in nicely. Right, starting to lose the light a bit, I'm afraid, so I don't know how much of this you're going to be able to see, but we're just going to finish putting this caliper back together now. So let's cut my support cable tie. I think one of the things I'm going to invest in the next time I do this job is, as I said earlier, I think I need a set of proper caliper carriers, I believe. Right, so let's just slide them into there. They are where they should be, I believe. So tightening up this time, actually tightening up for proper this time, not tightening up being dozy tightening up. Right, okay, so first things first, need to push them through. Okay, there's that one. Push this bottom one in. Same sort of thing. That doesn't feel like it's going in right. It's not. It's not going in right, that one. That one is going to need some rejiglification, I suspect. For some reason. There it is this time. So if something doesn't feel right, stop. Don't keep pushing. If something doesn't feel right, stop. Come back to it. Reevaluate. Yeah, I can see that's threaded in now. Go. That's as tight as I'm going to do those, not least because I know they're going to come off again at some point in the not too distant future. Yep. And generally, if you're starting to flex your ratchet, you're probably all right. Okay, stick my caps back on, and then I've got the pain in the arse of putting that clip back on. I bet you that's going to be the worst bit of this job. One thing I'm going to do, just make sure that I've got a nice float on the calipers. Obviously I can do that at the moment because the piston is pushed in all the way. But that feels good, so that does feel like that's going to move and do what we need it to. And more importantly, there's no horrible creaking noises. Alright, so I've just given this a little bit of a clean up off camera. I do wonder if this is the source of my creak, you know. It looks a little distorted and like it's seen better days, although I might have done that myself when I did quite a ham-fisted job, to be fair, of removing it. So now I've done a fairly ham-fisted job of removing it. Let's see how much of a ham-fisted job I do of reattaching it. Yeah, there's like a little, it's a little probably an anti-rattle shim there and there. They do look like they're replaceable, and they look quite worn. So, oh well, I think it's a case of see what happens with it, really. I think I'm going to get the bottom one in first because that looks like more of a challenge. That's sliding towards there. This is where there may be violence required. This might be a case of the old back of the screwdriver. Everything's a hammer. Everything's a hammer at the end of the day. I think that looks like that's in, actually. I think it's sitting inside there. Right, I'll have a quick look on my phone, see how that's sitting compared with the original pictures I took. Okay, I'm happy enough that's pressed in where it should be. I do half suspect, though, that this is the source of my creak. I reckon it could well be that it's this spring. Right, what I'm going to do before I put everything back together, I'm just going to press the brake pedal a couple of times inside the car. I just want to make sure that this caliper all goes back together okay before I throw the wheel back on. Okay, so press that brake caliper together. You might have seen it move on screen or not, I don't know. But that's all now together and it isn't floating anymore. More importantly, I pressed the brake pedal quite hard a few times and I didn't hear any creaks. Worryingly, what I did get when I did that was an anti-skid service required, so let's hope I've not caused another problem. It could well be that I've inadvertently flushed a bit of crap down onto the ABS sensor whilst I've been cleaning everything up, but hopefully not. So yeah, last thing, get the wheel back together and then just move it backwards and forwards on the drive a few times, just see if I can hear the creak, because like I say, once you moved it slightly a few times, you heard it fairly quickly, to be fair. So if it's going to do it, it's going to do it pretty much straight away. Worst thing about these, so the Americans complain that we don't use studs in Europe, and sometimes I agree with them. They look like we don't really. I'm sure there must be some engineering or technical reason why this method is chosen over others, but yeah, do wonder sometimes. Oh, that should already be preset from last time. There we go, all torqued up and ready to go. So I'm just going to put my trolley jack away and then we'll go for a drive and see if everything's still behaving. Yeah, I thought I'd take you on a little bit of a late evening POV drive and we'll see how things go. Windscreen's a bit dirty. There's something I wouldn't normally do because I'd be like, my windscreen wipers, but I hate these want changing anyway. It's like I've need to clean one of my jets. There's a slight triangle of doom there on the XC90, I've never noticed that before. I've got a little area where it doesn't quite overlap. Right, let's go, see how things look. I say, I apologise if the camera angle goes everywhere, it may well do with this. They quite often look like they've set out okay and then don't work out so well in the end. Yeah, brakes feel okay. You will hear some wheel bearing noise, I am aware of it. that on your own half of the road, mate. Yeah, still a little buzzy even with this new mounting. Still hear it coming through the wheel. I'm not entirely convinced by that rear engine mount at all. I think that still needs changing. But I suppose it's acceptable enough for now for what it is. I'll listen now and see if I can hear it still creaking. No, I'm not hearing any creaking. The pedal feels a lot more positive actually as well. Yeah, I need to have this entire interior to bits and de-rattle it quite substantially. Things rattling all over the place at the moment. Yeah, got a fair bit of bearing noise going on there. Still 1000% quieter than the BX at 70 though. Not hard. It's reasonably smooth though on these mounts once you're sort of established into a speed and a rhythm. It's not so bad. But I do think that bearing is starting to get a little rougher because I can feel it. So, I need to sort that ASAP. I imagine I'm still going to have the wheel shake. Yep. Again, that really needs sorting out. Yeah, the only other thing with the roughness I'm feeling on this is it could just be that the engine itself isn't that happy or healthy at the moment, and I don't think it is 100% happy or healthy. It can pause a little bit when you're pulling forward or out of junctions and busy roundabouts and things like that, so there's something unhappy somewhere in the car that needs a little bit of further investigation, I feel. So yeah, it's doing its best, poor old thing. Like I say, I think wheel bearing, discs and pads and cam belts, and then I think, to be honest with you, I will probably move this one on to somebody else. You know, it stops, starts and goes well enough, you know, and then I might let somebody else deal with the next round of whatever they think it's likely to need. Yeah, I certainly wouldn't drive it any significant distance as it is at the moment. It's alright nipping to the garden centre in it and things like that perhaps, but yeah, I think going any further would probably be possibly pushing my luck a little bit at the moment. I mean, the only other thing with the NVH in this is the NVH in the XC60 can be quite irritating at times as well. So it isn't just this that I kind of suffer with it a bit. All cars, pretty much all cars, cause me a little bit of NVH problem. Sorry, that's me trying to scratch the front of my head where the GoPro is currently mounted. This is of course assuming you're getting any form of view at all and not just a view of the headliner, which is quite possible. I usually set these up with my head pointing lower, and then as time goes on it winds up being pointing too high or too low. One thing I'll tell you this isn't, it's no E46. It's no E46 Club Sport. What have you done to me, Lewis and Leanne? I don't like 5-cylinder diesels anymore. Yeah, very buzzy around 2.5 under load still. Like I say, I'm not entirely convinced by that Febby rear mount. Yeah, I have to say, if I was given the choice right now of driving the BX or this to Wales, I think I'd probably drive the BX to Wales again. This is... yeah, I don't think this is floating my boat anymore. It's not floating my boat right now. I think it's my own fault. It is my own fault. In fact, this is something that's not unique to me. I think this is something that, you know, you may see happen through a few people that you know on YouTube or that like to play with cars, is that unfortunately I think if a project goes on a little bit too long and you don't get to enjoy the vehicle, it kind of slows things down. Ooh, they've resurfaced this. Sorry, that was a bit of a mild distraction on my part. There goes the dash cam. The dash cam has just decided it no longer wants to be in the chat. Oh dear, that's come out. Never mind, I've still got the GoPro on my head. That's going to have to do in the case of any evidential camera requirements. What was I saying? Sorry, I got slightly... oh, they've resurfaced this bit as well. This is my suspension bump test. It's gone. Wow. Sorry, mildly distracted. What was I saying? Yeah, so you may know people that sort of, you know, play with cars and do things on YouTube with cars. And unfortunately, I think if you have a project and then for any reason you don't throw yourself into it early on enough to really make full advantage of it and get to know it and love it and everything else, then they kind of drag and they start to become... you feel the burden rather than the fun, rather than the sparking of the joy of playing with a new project. And that's what happened to me with this, I think. It was a really generous situation that I wound up with it. I mean, I know I said if I paid £500 for it, but it was actually my dad who bought it for me to say, here, son, go away, go and have a play with this, have some fun with it, do some stuff on the channel. But unfortunately, it then hit at a point where I wasn't very well. And I didn't make the start on it that I should have done, really. And as a result, it sat for ages over the winter, which was a real shame. And I think, yeah, I've never really got the mojo back with it, unfortunately. Which is a shame, because it's a nice car. Well, I say it's a nice car, it's probably the roughest. It's the roughest P2 I've had now. But it was ridiculously cheap, and it stops, starts and goes, and it's a very, very old one, which is kind of fun because there aren't many of these that are this old. So yeah, it was worth saving, but is it a keeper? Is this something that I want to keep on my fleet for forever and ever and ever and ever and ever? And I don't know. This video is not what this video was supposed to be. This video was just supposed to be, can I stop the brakes from creaking and evaluate it post engine mount change? But seems to have turned into a little bit more than that now. But I'm not hearing any of those weird brake noises that I was hearing before, which is nice. So yeah, I think that caliper just must have been a little bit dry. I wanted to check it as well before I went to the trouble of committing to putting new discs and pads in it. Because if I found out the caliper was bad, then obviously that's not the situation I want to be in. And there we go, that's better. That's sorted that out. I can't feel anything that suggests a problem in that area. But yeah, I mean, you can probably still hear how buzzy everything still is, which is a bit disappointing. But then again, if those mounts aren't getting any vacuum at all at the moment, which they may not be, then that could explain why I'm having this problem. I don't know. The end of this is going a bit randomer, I think, really, at the moment. I don't know. I need to have a think about this car. Like I say, I've seen it happen to other people. I think probably one of the best examples of that, where somebody's bought a project and then has really struggled to get motivated to keep it going, is well, I was going to say mention no names, but I may as well say it, Ian Hubnut with the Mini Pajero. Yeah, very much same sort of problem. If you don't swing into a project instantly and get invested and get going with it, it can then get hard to sort of really enjoy them and keep going with them. And like I say, in many respects, this car's terrible. You know, it is. It's tired and it's everything else. But it does. I don't know. I've just said I wouldn't feel like driving it to Wales. Maybe with a few more little bits sorted to it, perhaps I would. I don't know. It's far from horrible, but it's just, yeah. I need to get it over the line now. To the point where, to be honest with you, with the wheel bearing, I'm really thinking about not doing that myself. I think I might just book it in with my local guy and say, look, I don't know which wheel bearing it is. I think it's that front near side. Can you check it, find it, sort it, fix it, track it up for me at the same time, please, because the alignment's out. And then the only thing I've got left to do in theory then is front discs and pads and the timing belt. You know, and then I'm in a state where if I want to move this on, I can do, potentially. But yeah, it is a sweet old bus. I mean, it's a shonker. I think that's the term that Jim used when he came round. I took him out to it. To McDonald's when he paid me a visit not that long ago. In fact, I'll include a couple of clips now because he had some entertainment over, well, how many attempts it took me to park this enormous beast.
Oh, we have to move it because he's not inside the lines. Oh, we're still parking. Still parking.
Yeah, it took me a few more attempts than it really should have done. But hey, it is big, and P2s have horrible turning circles, and that's the excuse I'm sticking with. Yeah, there's definitely no more clickety clankety clank 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 clanks now when braking, because that's what it was doing before. You could hear sort of like a weird tumbling noise under braking and a creaking noise when you pulled up, so doesn't seem to be doing that at all anymore, which is nice. Speaking of nice, looks like they might have patched some of these holes in along this side of the road as well. Oh no, we haven't patched them in. See if I can hear any brake creak. No, stripping that down and cleaning it up seems to have cured that, so that's good. So we'll call that sorted. So that's at least one less job to deal with. Let's just check out my angle, still looks not too bad. So yeah, that is one less job to do. So at least the vehicle's now usable again, because like I say, the way it was before, I wasn't really happy driving it whilst I could hear that brake caliper creaking. It's just an area I won't take chances in. You know, tyres, brakes, steering, that sort of thing. Just no way I'm going to take any chances with it. So that being said, I think I'm going to close this one up here. Not sure what the next video will be. It might be me investigating the vacuum system. It could be me looking at the wheel bearing. Like I say, one of the challenges I've got really is ideally I could do with getting the whole car raised so that and in neutral, so I can isolate exactly which wheel bearing it is. And that's going to be tough to do at home. So like I say, I might wind up entrusting that to a professional to do. But anyway, thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening to me prattle on and ramble on as usual. And no doubt I've put a video out to you with loads of useless camera angles as usual. But let's say thank you very much for watching and continuing to support me. Please do consider subscribing before you go if you haven't done already. And I'll see you in a future one. Cheerio.